Welcome back to All In Affordable Housing. I'm Matt Lownes, your host. Today, I am so happy to be joined with Katie Casey, the Executive Director of the East Hampton Housing Authority. Katie, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's a little cold out, I'm not gonna lie.
It is pretty cold.
We've had weird weather. It goes back and forth. It's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold. I think Sunday it's gonna be in the 60s, but it's all good. I went to the Stand with Ukraine event last night at the East Hampton Hook Mill,
hmm
and that was really nice. It was awesome to see the support, about 100 people, but everything's been going well here at LTV. How's everything over at the Housing Authority?
Busy. Good.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Like what? Tell me a little bit about the day to day of it so far.
Well, we have ongoing management. The Housing Authority has four properties, one in Montauk, one in Amagansett, two in East Hampton. So the day-to-day keeps us busy, but we are also starting a brand new project on 3 Mile Harbor Road. Um, the property changed hands. The property conveyed on Friday, late Friday, and Monday was, all hands on deck.
So tell me a little, how exciting is that for you? You've been the executive director, you told me off air, for 10 years now.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit how exciting it is to have a new property to really get going on that. You've now oversaw over the last 10 years, I think, the addition of two new ones in Amagansett.
No, just one,
Oh,
one
just
in
one.
Amagansett.
Okay. And so, yeah, tell me a little bit about what that was like, seeing that one go from the beginning to end, and now where you are now with the new one in Springs.
Mhm. So the one in Amagansett was completed in 2020, but it really, it got started in 2015. We
Hmm.
identified the property. We purchased the property early 2016. We applied for funding. The first time that we applied for funding, we did not get the award. That's not uncommon. I was a relative newcomer at that point. I didn't really have I didn't have that much of a relationship with the funding sources. I was a bit of an unknown.
Hmm.
So, and buying the property before we had the funding was quite a leap of faith.
Mm.
The site was perfect. Uh, there's no question in anyone's mind now that we need affordable housing,
Yeah.
whether that's new construction or repurposing properties or any way we can increase the housing stock. It needs to be done. So before that property came to fruition and people started to move in, different
Hmm.
phases of every project are very exciting for different reasons. Um, we did get funded in 2017 after we partnered with Georgia Green Ventures.
Hmm.
They are very well respected, well known in the state. So when we partnered with them, that assured the funding sources that it was going to happen. The Our leap of faith, the Housing Authority's leap of faith, the board's confidence in the administration that we could get it done really made it happen. And Suffolk County was the first entity to put money in the pot.
Wow.
So the buying the property was a borrowing, and there's no revenue to pay for that borrowing. So you have to once you get that ball rolling, you have to keep going.
Hmm.
But the county believed that we would make this happen. They love the site also. They know the economy in East Hampton, and the housing crunch has been going on for quite some time. It's getting a lot of attention now, and I'm very happy for that. We've always had the support of
Hmm.
people who need affordable housing.
Yeah.
And I feel like now we have the support of people who don't need
Yeah.
affordable housing. However, that said, everybody needs affordable housing because it supports the community. It gives housing to people that are our economic engine. So, you know, starting a new project, identifying a property, and then you get the funding, and then you start to build, and that's exciting. And then you start to identify the people who are going to live there, and that's
Hmm.
very exciting. So starting a new project is it's kind of invigorating,
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. One thing I've been interviewing a lot of people, I've been reaching out to a lot of people, doing a lot of research over the past few months. And one thing that I found really interesting is about 2 weeks ago there was an article in the New York Times about how Long Island is the most restrictive zoning in America. Suffolk County is the most restrictive zoning for single families only
Hmm.
in the entire country. It's 85% of zoning for homes is single family homes. Nassau County is a little lower at 76%, but that's insane.
Hmm.
You're talking about currently Fred Thiel and many others are working on trying to get accessory dwelling units involved so people can at least allow someone to live in a side room or a basement or a garage type living. That is a plug to the problem.
Hmm.
A lot of people have, one person told me is, as you mentioned, a lot of people are starting to care now. But one person said, we needed that 10 years ago.
Hmm.
We needed that 10 years ago, pre-pandemic, pre-hurricanes, pre all this movement towards the Hamptons. So we kind of did things backwards, and that was more my fault. But tell me a little bit about your background. Did you grow up out here? Are you a homeowner out here? And how did you really get into your position to where you are today?
Hmm. Um, I'm not originally from out here. I'm a transplant.
Hmm.
I grew up in Northport,
Hmm.
which is Western Suffolk. And then I went to college, got married, started a family. We were living in Lloyd Harbor. I moved out here in 97. So that's 25 years. Rented for a couple years. I was fortunate enough, with the help of my family, to buy a home
Hmm.
in 1999.
Okay.
And that was right when things really just
Took off.
skyrocketed, just took off. So I bought a very modest home. Anybody else would have torn it down. I renovated it. Raised my kids there. They went to East Hampton schools.
Hmm.
Uh, I 1998, I think it was. I started working for the town at the rec center. It might have been 97 when it was being built, before it was commissioned,
Yep.
before it was put in service. And I worked at the rec center, and then uh, as a town employee, when the rec center was transferred over to the YMCA, I was offered an opportunity to get redistributed in the town someplace. So I landed at the Office of Housing and Community Development on Bluff Road.
Hmm.
That office administers the Section 8 program. I didn't I didn't go to school for city planning or affordable housing or anything in that field.
Hmm.
I actually went to college for computers and art and education. I attended
Oh, wow.
Friends World College,
Yeah.
which was kind of an experimental program. You have to go overseas twice in order to graduate. So
Wow.
it's an intercultural program with an emphasis on justice issues.
Where did you go abroad?
I went to Japan and Costa Rica.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That must have been a crazy experience to see that.
It was great. I mean, I had been an exchangee when I was 20. I went to Germany for a year. So I already had like the travel bug. I started college a little bit late because once you start traveling, sometimes you can't stop.
Hmm.
And that happened to me. So, so I bought my house in 99 and then worked at the Office of Housing and Community Development until 2012, when I was hired by the Housing Authority. It was a natural transition. It was a very easy segue. We have a lot of the same clients, same mission. Uh, so I've been at the Housing Authority since 2012, when Maureen Murphy retired.
Now, you've had a lot of experience in the last 10 years via putting up new properties. You're putting up a new one now. I guess a lot of the issues, or there seems to be myths, and there seems to be issues with affordable housing or misconceptions. Um, a lot of people will say, or one of the biggest things, one of the biggest conversations around affordable housing is not in my backyard.
Hmm.
If you could really say something or a message to those people, the not in my backyard, what would that be?
What would that be? Well, there is a counter organization called YIMBY.
Yep, Michael Daly.
Yeah, yes, in my backyard. They've been very effective in educating the community as to why this is good for everyone. As I
Mhm.
said before, not just the people who live there. At yesterday's town board meeting, if there's a housing topic, something that
Mhm.
involves what I do professionally, I always listen in to the town board meetings and am usually ready to jump in if the conversation,
Yeah.
if it starts to go toward those myths,
Yeah.
because the more frequently you say it, the more people oh yeah, that's
Mhm.
true, all these myths. So, it brings in a lot of people from the outside. It's going to depress real estate values. It's going to, make my property worth less. It's going to be a problem with a lot of
A lot of people think there's gonna be
criminal activity
yeah, a lot
and
of people think the schools are gonna be overpopulated. It's
mhm,
not true.
there are
It's just not true.
yeah, there are
Um
quite a few myths. So you know at yesterday's town board meeting, I couldn't believe, I was really sort of overcome by the amount of support.
mhm.
For well over an hour, the community called in, and a lot of people, everyone who called in actually voiced support, overwhelming support for the project. And there were a lot of names that I hadn't heard before, people who I don't come into contact with, that expressed. One gentleman in particular said that, trying to remember his comment so that I get it right. We're often in a position where we have to choose between what's morally correct and what's in my own self-interest. And he said, excuse me, that the development of affordable housing, increasing community housing stock, is both. It is morally the right thing to do, and it's also in my best interest because it supports the community. The, people who live out here expect a pretty high
Mhm.
standard of living between excellent restaurants, services, professional trades, and people need to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And you can't get that stuff done if your contractor or vendor or, the person who's providing that service to you is on the road 3 hours a day, stuck in traffic
Yeah.
on County Road 39,
Mhm.
trying to get to points east. So uh, I really believe that all of the press, all of the talk about affordable housing now is good for the community. We're dispelling a lot of those myths with information, with facts.
Yep. Yep. And that's a lot of it is a lot of people will just it's almost for selfish reasons, whether it's their property value or maybe they live down the road and you hear this a lot. It's an eyesore. Who cares? We still need affordable housing. Whether it's the volunteer ambulance and firefighting service.
Mhm.
Who's going to do that
Well,
if everybody gets forced out of town?
here's the thing. It doesn't have to be an eyesore. I haven't heard anybody call Gansett Meadow and
Exactly.
Gansett an eyesore. It's right on the highway. We went to great pains. Georgia Green, our developer partner, the architects, SPJ Group,
Hmm.
all of the engineers, we went to great lengths to make it attractive. It's right on the highway. It's not tucked in the woods.
Yep.
It's not hidden from view.
Yep.
So we looked at the McMahon complex across the street, and the architecture we wanted to fit in because the people who live there deserve to fit in.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I kind of want to shift the conversation a little bit is obviously fully anonymous. Um, I want the public to understand the type of people that are living in these complexes.
Mhm.
Because like you said, a lot of people out here, they don't see what they don't want to see. They expect things, but they don't really think about the greater picture of it. So tell me a little bit about the type of people that are in the complex, the type of people that apply for the lotteries, and really the type of person that we should be building more affordable housing for.
Okay. So Gansett Meadow is the newest one, so
Yes.
that's freshest
Yes.
in my mind. I put together a sheet of occupations and, just some occupational demographics, if you will. Who lives at Gansett Meadow? So there are 37 apartments. One of them is reserved for the resident manager.
Yes.
There's somebody on site, like a super.
Yes.
Of those 36 units, there are 5 that are not in the workforce. They're either retired persons, pensioners, um, uh, you know, disabled or elderly. And out of the other households, there are 58 worker bees.
Okay.
There are 58 people in the workforce. They work at supermarkets.
Yep.
They work, quite a few of them actually work at Meeting House Lane.
Yep.
In Montauk or Amagansett or
Yep.
East Hampton.
That's convenient.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially in the last 2 years with
Yeah.
all of the attention on medical between vaccinations and hospitals being overwhelmed with COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that. So 5 households are medical service providers. There are people who work at the grocery store, at CVS. We have a few CVS employees.
Mhm.
Just delis, and there's a few self-employed people. That's the person handing you your bagel in the morning,
Yeah.
making your coffee. It's
Yeah.
the person who is fixing your plumbing issue. It's the person who is cleaning your pool. Gansett Meadow is mixed income. So it goes from extremely low income to 90% of area median income. Area median income is calculated annually based on, household economic data.
Mhm.
And then it's distilled down to the county level. And then actually after the 2020 census, all of that data is crunched. We'll have data specific to East Hampton town.
Yeah.
But 90% of area median income is
Yeah.
just that. So it's the people who were just below median income. In our real estate market, the truth is you need to be at least at 150% of median income to purchase a starter home.
Wow.
At the bottom of the market.
Wow.
So there's this big gap between
Mhm.
people who are gainfully employed, if you will, or they're comfortable on Social Security and a pension, or they have investments. They're not below the poverty level. They're not struggling, but they'll never own something.
Yeah.
In East Hampton. It's just there's this big gap between people who work hard and have decent jobs and a starter home.
Yeah, and that's really, that was my intention, is to explain to people that these type of people that are living there just need a place to live. They work in your community. They service you. They do everything that you really don't think about, so to speak. And for me, the one thing I'm really trying to do is bring awareness with this show, is to get the greater East Hampton area to understand that this is vital, that this is a legitimate crisis. And if we can move on to the lottery process a little bit, how many? I'm not sure what you know at the top of your head, but do you remember maybe close to a number of how many people applied for that at the Gansett Greens?
Gansett Meadow, yeah.
Gansett Meadow, sorry.
It was when we did the drawing, it was just shy of 600.
Wow.
For 36 apartments.
Wow.
Not everybody's going to qualify.
Yep.
The drawing is done before we do the qualification, because you can't. There's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of research. There's credit and criminal checks. You have to third-party verify their income. We need identification.
Wow.
So you can't do that for everybody before you do the drawing. the use of the word lottery implies that you win something.
Yeah.
If your name comes out of the hat, you've got it, you're in, you won. The people who wind up living there have won in a sense, but they still have to go through a pretty rigorous process to qualify. So maybe 6 months before we're expecting to receive a certificate of occupancy, we open up the list. Anybody who wants an application can get one. And then at a certain date, you have to close the list because you have to put it in some kind of an order. It's not chronological order. It's not the date that the application was received. All those, each application is assigned a number.
Okay.
And then the numbers are drawn and the applications are considered in the order that they're drawn. Qualification process takes a month, maybe 2 months. It depends on how many people are working in the house, how complicated their situation is. You know, are they single, separated, married,
Yep.
divorced, widowed? You know, you have to kind of go through all of that information. How many bedrooms do they need? What's the income level?
So in a sense, you lose if you're applying for this lottery. In a sense, you lose a lot of privacy. You're handing over a lot of information to the town, theoretically.
Not the town, the housing
The
authority.
housing authority.
And confidentiality is something we take very, very seriously.
Yeah.
So that information goes into your file once eligibility determination is made. You know, that file either becomes a tenant file
Mhm.
or, you know, most of it is destroyed, like bank
Yep.
statements and
Yep.
all that stuff is
Yep.
destroyed. And then we merely keep a record that this household applied and they were determined ineligible if they declined. They changed their mind and decided not to take an apartment. And we keep that all on file, but it's in locked file cabinets. We're audited every year.
Okay.
And a big part of the audit, it's not just a financial audit.
Yeah.
It's also security,
Yeah. Yep.
cybersecurity.
Yep. Now, how many kids, or how do you factor in if someone has kids? How does that factor into the process, at least for Gansett Meadows?
Number of bedrooms.
Yep.
What unit size do you need?
Yep.
We never have more than 2 people in 1 bedroom.
Okay.
If a, you know, if a couple has an infant, that infant might stay in that bedroom for a year or 2, but then they have to upsize.
Yep.
So people move in, people move out. Sometimes somebody will move from one apartment to another because they need to upsize or downsize. Children, generally speaking, it's 2 per
Mhm.
bedroom,
Mhm.
but it depends on gender identification.
Okay.
Not you know, not just the sex of the
Yep.
child, but their gender identification, how they identify.
Yep.
So children under school age, you know, 0 to 3 or 4, they could share a bedroom, but then they each need to know
Yes.
their own bedroom if
Yes.
they identify as different genders. And all of that has to get calculated. You know, it's you put all the puzzle
Yeah.
pieces together. Every household is treated the same, but with great attention to their specific details.
Yeah.
What they need. What are the needs of the occupants?
Yeah. And kind of as we're wrapping up here, really the last question, we talk about different groups, whether it be single young professionals, families, elderly, disabled, and then there's couples that don't have kids. There's a lot of different types of people. As we look into the future, obviously, me and you can't predict if there's going to be another global pandemic or what may happen. But all things considered, if we were to look in the future, how do you see the future of affordable housing moving? Is it going to be mixed housing? Are there going to be certain affordable housing complexes for young professionals, certain for elderly, certain for families? In East Hampton, how do you, from your perspective, want to see affordable housing moving forward in 20, 30 years?
Our population is diverse, so our housing portfolio has to be equally diverse.
Yes.
The housing authority only does multifamily. We don't have any age limit. We don't do, specifically senior housing.
Mhm.
It's usually good to have a balance of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. At Gansett Meadow, we actually have a 4-bedroom. Different people are attracted to different things.
Yes.
And we don't make that decision for them.
Yes.
So it's our goal to be able to offer, different types of housing.
Mm-hmm.
People self-select where they want to live. Some people, I'll give you an example. Some retired people, some older people, they prefer to have kids around. It makes them feel,
It's less depressing,
more-
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. And other older people don't, they don't particularly want the tricycles and
Yep.
maybe a baby crying occasionally, that kind of thing. So, for the diverse population, we need a diverse portfolio. We need to do better
Yeah.
with creating new units. I believe that this current administration really is committed to making it happen. We have a little catching up to do. We're a little behind.
How many? Out of curiosity, we have 4 right now, plus 1 being put up, or in the very beginning stages. Out of curiosity, I mean, you are the executive director. What's a number that you would feel comfortable with in 30 years of how many different complexes? 15, 20?
Yep. Well, it depends on the economy. I think we can pretty much assume that the economy of East Hampton is going to remain pretty strong. And it depends on the population. Are we in a baby boom? Are people in their 20s, 30s, 40s opting to not have children? Those are,
Yeah.
it's all trends,
Mhm.
right? So the best thing to do, I think, I believe somebody asked me to throw out a number yesterday, and I came up with 300 new units of affordable housing.
Wow.
Ownership and rentals. The town does have one condominium project that's 12 units. It's a small, you drive past it all the time.
Yep.
You have no idea.
Yep.
It's affordable housing. You have no idea. It's a condominium. So if we really should have 300 units of housing in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And then every 5 or 10 years, we need to take stock, reassess, where are we going? What's the trend? Bigger units, smaller units? Do people want to own? Are people happy renting? So you have to constantly reevaluate. The Housing Authority has a 5-year plan, but we take a look at it every year and make tweaks to it to try to steer us in the right direction.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, we are running out of time here, but your input was excellent. I really did appreciate getting a better understanding of really how it works from your perspective. I've talked to so many different people. Politicians will say one thing. Michael Daly is obviously the other side of things, the most let's build housing guy possible, and I love him. I love him. We love Yimby. We love Michael Daly here. I wanted to thank you for coming on. This was episode 4 of All in Affordable Housing. We're going to try to do a panel towards the end of the spring, and hopefully we can get you on that with all the other original guests that we have on this show and kind of recap the first set of conversations that we're having.
Well, I appreciate the platform. I appreciate your interest and what you're doing to help get the information out to the community. So thank you.
Yeah, well, this was episode 4 of All in Affordable Housing. I'm Matt Lownes. This is Katie Casey, Executive Director of the East Hampton Housing Authority. And thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.